Dear Lord, if I should die before I wake, grab a nigga and take me to heaven. Back in elementary, I thrived on misery. Left alone, I grew up amongst a dying breed. Inside, I couldn't find a place to rest until I got that thug life tatted on my chest. Tell me, can you feel me? Big up, Tupac Shakur. So many tears. Namaste, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mir, ni hao, buenos dias, buenos tardes, heseche, aquaba, welcome. What up, though? This is Convo with Zuri G. I am Zuri G, aka Peter Johansson Osisi. We talk about numerous joints with numerous cats from numerous places. And this conversation today is with Brother Xavier. And Brother Xavier is a young brother from the village area. We talk about hip hop, and him coming from the generation, the millennial generation, me coming from the Generation X joint, doing like a comparative of what his top 5 hip hop acts are and what my top 5 hip hop acts are. Just again, it's a convo about, or it's a list based on the moment, recognizing these things can like change and fluctuate or whatever, but just give an idea where the mindsets are at. And with the interest of intergenerational bridge building, and additionally and addressing the interests of the community as well as the needs of the community, and the cooperation within the community. The community, however you define that. It's and that's part of the scope of the convo is recognizing that hip hop is a global phenomena, is a world phenomena of all ethnic groupings and civilizational experiences, and additionally, so that's the nature of how I define community, and that's the nature of the convo. Here it is. This joint. We should probably also turn the music off just because the copyright. I like the idea of having music on during the combo, but what was that? What track was that?
It's called Harpsichord.
Okay. I've dealt with enough of the block scenarios with the social media when they hear the music stuff. So. Alright, this joint is going. Alright. So, Brother Xavier, what's going on?
Hey, Brother Peter.
Alright.
Doing alright?
Alright. So, let's see. We're starting this joint. And the combo that we have going on for today are our 5 top 5 hip hop acts, and recognizing that this list is other than end all to be all type list, but for today these are like the 5 hip hop acts that we go to, that vibe with us, that influence us, and just building the convo around that. So as we get started, I'll share how we meet. We've known each other for a number of years at this point. I think probably like 4 or 5 years, somewhere around there.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah. So you live here in the village area, and we like chop it up through the years. And you're doing music, and we talk about a number of different issues that the community deals with, and so we have that mindset. And do you remember like the first like extended conversation that we have at all? Do you remember that?
Down here?
Not. It was before that one. I'll tell you the first one that I have in my mind. See if you remember the one I'm talking about, and if there was another one before that. Because I don't think it was the first time we actually like were combo with each other, but it was like the first one that kind of thing started us to be like to be intentionally like, yo, what's up? So this is the scene. It was actually at the coffee house, and there was some static brewing at the coffee house on that particular afternoon, and there was a standoff between you and one of the baristas. I don't know if you remember that.
Okay.
You remember that? I don't mean to blow a spot.
I do remember
so,
that
yeah.
day.
But then you and I kind of got up and like I started talking, and then you and I started talking, and from that's like when we just started like just to convo, and like I said, I think we talked with each other before, maybe here and there or what's up and passing on, but that was like our first extended combo. And then the situation got squashed. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal, and cats make big things than what it actually is or whatever. So, and I recognize that, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of like, yo, what's up? But anyways, that was the first combo, and I think after that, then we started to be like, yo, what's up? And then like we started having combos on the street where we hang out and everything, and then out front of the building. After that, but that was a few years ago, and
it's been almost 4 years.
Yeah, we've had a number of combos, obviously, through the years since then. But that's just what I remember, like our combo starting, and like I said, we talk about a number of different things. We talk about social media, the original list that was planned for today, but my memory sometimes is obscured by other things. So we're working with this hip hop joint, and recognizing that we have different. We grew up in somewhat different decades, and so we have different somewhat different frames of reference. And I was mentioning before how a lot of the young heads these days are accused of not having due respect for the old heads, and so the consideration is like, all right, well, if you share your 5, I share my 5, and then we build a combo along those lines. And help bridge the years in the community, and additionally, so we have yet to like say what our 5s are, and before we do, what I do is invite you to share some additional information about yourself, your ancestors, where you come from, what you represent, and the legacy that you continue on this earth. So I'll hand it over to you.
All right. Well, I recently did a DNA test to see where my heritage is, and I found that I have bloodlines spanning 3 continents.
Wow.
Over in Europe, South America, and Africa. Maybe 4, because South America kind of coming up around to Mexico, and it's like Mesoamerica.
Okay.
I'm still working on trying to find some of those people that I'm close to. I get emails a lot about, hey, somebody's like 0.5% alike with you. You might want to try to do some investigation. I did a little bit of ancestry lookups and haven't really found too much yet to see if there's anybody in common in my family, and I'm still trying to find out. It's something that's an ongoing project that I have. When they give me the opportunity, I mean, I'm gonna try to work my way so I can just travel a little bit and maybe meet some of those people and hopefully know it.
Okay. What do your parents tell you about that? About your background?
I mean, they really don't look too deep into it.
Okay.
I mean, maybe like 3-4 generations. And all that's just like what's remembered from the times before or times after the original places.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's always something about love. You know, people trying to find a way to tell me they love me, and I appreciate that and all, and leads me to believe that a good portion of where I come from was a place of love.
Yeah.
When you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the genealogy.
So, to step on that a little bit, at the risk of stepping on it a little bit, what I say is this: when you talk about what the nexus between our ancestry, our parents and our family, and then love, like, regardless of the conditions that we are emerge into this universe as material beings, we are a continuum of love, and there may be all types of like context, pretext, subtext, whatever that surrounds how we come to be and how we're raised, and additionally, but in the core of it is that love. It's the truth. It's that eternal. And so the things that are around that are the names. And so the names are important, but the names are just like pointers towards that core. And so as we continue on in our respective walks as individuals within this universe, there's the consideration of like knowing that the love, the truth, the light that's within ourselves, the eternal, the unchanging, that's the same in everybody, the spirit. But then also knowing as much about the names as well. And when we think about like where we are today, these days, with technology and civilization and migrations as it is, there are a lot of different ways of knowing the names. Obviously, when our parents tell us, that has a significant amount of credibility and weight to it. Then when we do the DNA testing, that's another way. Or when we go to like government records or other archives and databases and stuff like that, that's other forms of sharing the names of who we are, and that precede us, that the legacy that we continue. And then there are also like the stories and that are shared culturally. And so sometimes we might have a pinpoint of the name of like, this is so-and-so, the full name of so-and-so, my fourth generation grandfather, whatever. But then also like, this is the tribe I come from, this is the nation that I come from, this is the language I come from. And so it might be a general kind of description. So anyways, I'm talking, you're supposed to be talking, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have some countries in mind that I want to visit.
Okay.
And
like?
I definitely wanted to go to Kenya, West Africa, Nigeria, Ireland. I'd like to do some European trips at some point. I go about as far east as about Czech Republic. And that's kind of where my heritage closes off from the next ethnicities in Europe. But like Chile, I want to check out Mexico. And I mean, there's a lot of Earth to see.
Oh, definitely.
And a lot of people to meet, and a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to have my place in those places, and just broaden my perspective.
Yeah. There's a lot of land to cover on this earth. A lot of opportunities, but there are also a lot of people doing it. There are a lot of people who are making those moves that you're describing. There are a lot of people who are traveling to those places, connecting with brethren in each of those places, learning about culture, history, heritage, and self. And so I think it's increasingly accessible these days than it was even a generation or two ago. And you can do it even via the internet, and additionally by connecting with like a village center in Ghana or Nigeria, or even like the expat, like expatriate communities, like people who've relocated, moved back to different places, and connecting with these communities that are that have like the familiarity of what it's like to live here and what it's like to come from here, here being like this continent, but then also have connections on the ground in those different communities where they move back to, and so it's very accessible without even having to go overseas. I think it's beneficial. It's important to go overseas and walk the land, because I've had the opportunity of doing that, and there's no replacement for that. But there are things that can be done in the meanwhile amidst that as well. So
yeah, I want to check out some areas, and between the master's degree and working, I'm just working on building up my brand and being able to continue my arts.
All right.
And I'd like to be able to create something that people can enjoy.
So that gets us into the topic of the music, and like I said before, you're putting music together. You share with me some of the tracks that you record through the years, and so you share a positive message, an uplifting message. It's heartfelt, and that is something that's very valuable within the community and in society in general. And so maybe you can speak a little bit about like how you get into music and what your objective is in the music that you make, in the music that you share. What's the message that you work to get out?
Yeah, I identify with a host of different artists. As an artist, I do enjoy the bravado type of flow, like being able to just talk about yourself and the things you do, the way you operate in certain situations, and be able to keep it up in the real world, and being able to stay positive throughout. I mean, amidst all the difficulties one may encounter, and still be able to progress. And I mean, I really started listening to hip hop in the late 2000s, or mid to late 2000s, around 06, 07. Like hip hop was like, and electronic music. That was pretty much all I was bumping.
Okay.
And they were really, they really helped shape me a little bit. I mean, that was when I was about 19, 20.
Okay.
I did listen to hip hop before that, but as an adult, I started thinking, how do I fit into this this part of life within the grander life that there is? And I was working a job, and I was trying to get a raise, and I couldn't get that raise, and I was feeling bogged down, so I just left the job. I was still in school. I was like, man, I gotta do something to make something of myself in life. What am I gonna do? And I was listening to some beats. I was like, well, maybe I could just rap. Try it out.
Okay.
And I was writing lyrics, and I was filling up notebooks just with random rhymes I was thinking about. And I found it to be an outlet, and I was journaling my life in action, being able to, even if I couldn't really pinpoint the exact mechanisms that were going on as I was jotting these rhymes down, I knew I was hitting on something because it was resonating with me.
Okay.
and that was about 11 years ago. And I mean, I still hadn't gotten to the point where those resonations continue beyond the single person listening or single people listening. And that's a new challenge for me.
Okay.
Will what I have to say go beyond the single performance?
Beyond the sanctuary into the connectivity with others. So by the sanctuary, I mean like when you say there's something that resonates with you, like you're feeling it, and like you're saying what you want to say, and but then the question is, are other people vibing with that as well? So when we're in that express, because it's a very sensitive thing, like to be able to get into ourselves and then let that come out. I mean, we need that little bit of a sanctuary to give that, like a greenhouse, to give that some space to grow, some nurturing to grow, because there's just so much shade and everything else that's kind of working to suppress that. So it's important to have that greenhouse, that sanctuary, to let that message come out. But then it's a matter of, okay, well then are others ready for this as well? Are others vibing on this? And so that's where that connectivity comes in, of like, okay, yeah, some people are feeling it. All right, cool, yeah. So that's what I'm speaking to when I'm listening to what you're saying.
Yeah, and I've shown that through determination and endurance. I mean, I can do it myself. I can express what I have to say myself, and make an impact on a person or a couple people. And it may last a minute. It may last a little bit longer. And I've seen both of those. And there's a lot in those. And it's going to be fun to work on my next project. The title's still in the works. I had a title set for it, but the vibe of compassion may stay the same, but I might need to kind of make it a little bit more extensive in the different topics I comment on, and especially in the sense of, man, I gotta keep my distance from some people, but also I gotta just focus on getting the jobs done, doing what I have to do, being able to support myself, and earn enough to be able to support my family, and pay for my obligations. And that's a good challenge. I mean, it's healthy.
Yeah. It's a continual challenge. I mean, that's what life is about, is balancing those necessities, the inspiration, but also the nourishment as well. So it's a continual process.
And I'm getting to know myself a little bit more through each interaction and each song that I do, write and perform, and be able to release, like, this is something that I created, and then from however far that reach has gone with my music, I see a little bit more created as a result of those vibes meeting.
The ripples continue. So with that note, let's get into the list, of the hip hop artists that are our influences, who've set their little ripple in the lake, and we find resonance with it, and we continue with that as well.
Okay.
So let's start from 5 to 1. You share one, I share one, and we just, like, each time we share why and like what we get from the artist, and why they're on the list. Recognizing also, again, I don't know if I said this earlier in this combo, but Like these are where we're. For me, this is where I'm coming from. It's like these are the hip hop artists that are like my general go to cats. But obviously, it's very difficult to narrow that down to just 5. So for today, this is what I'm feeling today. And it's been this way for a while, but there can be ebbs and flows. So this is my top 5 for today. Because being the diplomat I am, I have to like represent all the different things and this and the other. So sometimes
is that a hint?
Huh?
Is that a hint?
That's a question. We haven't shared yet what our lists are. But anyways, enough disclaimer. Let's get into the list. So what's your number 5 that you got on the list?
Number 5, I have to go with Jeezy.
Jeezy. That's
or Young Jeezy.
See, okay. Jeezy. School me. What's up? What's up with Jeezy?
Jeezy is a very good example of someone who's made friends in the industry that's been public.
Okay.
And gotten out of certain relationships and still was able to stand on his own too and make a huge name for himself.
Okay. So what does he spit about? What's his message?
It's about staying determined and staying on your grind and paying attention to your surroundings.
Okay.
And not always letting what somebody has to say make you get more into your own equilibrium.
Okay.
Just to move forward.
Okay. So one of like the categories when I look at like the hip hop artists in general, and one of the reasons I'm very scrutinizing when I listen to like any cat period, but let alone any cat within the past 20, 30 years, is I'm a message dude. Like that's what I'm all about. And so I know a lot of cats are on the bling bling shoot 'em up type, this, that, and the other. And so I'm very leery about giving my attention to that. So, and I don't want to. I'm not cussing, but I'm just saying, like, is he a bling bling shoot 'em up, or is he because there are some cats who are bling bling shoot 'em up, but then they're also like, here's the hood. Like, I'll give an example, like Tupac. I have Tupac, and I love Tupac, and we know Tupac was bling bling shoot 'em up, but he was also like he got a message, and so I give ear to the cats who have message, regardless of whatever else they're sharing. But I have to put it into context of know how to balance that. So how would you? Does he talk about the bling bling shoot 'em up, or what is?
Jeezy's a careful dude.
Okay.
He's may talk about some of the excursions that he goes on.
Okay.
Here and there, on shopping.
Okay.
But he's a good storyteller.
Okay.
In the sense that he'll give you just enough to catch the lesson and give you the opportunity to see the life for yourself.
Okay.
But he started out as kind of like a hardcore guy.
How long ago does he come out?
About 2003, 2004
so
on the mainstream.
Is he still putting music out?
The last thing I've seen from him, it's been a couple years now.
Okay, but he's still recent, still like current.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
He was just at House of Blues last year.
Okay, so he's got longevity. He's been around for a while, and so he's got some staying power. And who might be some of the who do you know, if at all, to be some of his influences, hip hop wise, or if other than that, who do you liken him to of some of the old heads that you know about?
He's in my T.I. category.
Okay.
He's got a lot of songs. He's got songs with Jay-Z.
Okay.
Especially around the time he was kind of solidifying himself as an artist.
Okay.
You can see him with Rick Ross. I mean, there's a big party going on that upper echelon hip hop is running.
Okay.
You might see Jeezy there.
Okay.
And I mean, one of his breakout singles was it's called Icy.
Okay.
It's called Icy.
I hear you.
It was with Gucci Mane.
Okay.
Then they fell out. You know, I don't know if that relationship is ever going to be repaired. However, you know, they're both doing successful things in the music business. Even though they may not mention each other as much. They took shots at each other for a while.
We know.
They both sustained it.
In hip hop, beefs are go all around, and as tight as two cats may be one day, the next day they might be feuding or whatever. And we also know that can be intentional because the feuding is the fueling for the record sales. And so then after that, then we know like they can be reconciled. Example is like Cube and Dre, or I mean. There are a lot of examples that can be gleaned from the history of hip hop, which spans half a century at this point, nearly half a century. So, anyways, that ain't nothing new, and it ain't nothing final either in terms of like the discord and everything else like that. So, can you think of like a go-to track that would be like a typical representation of what he spits?
Yeah, I'd go with Grind State.
Okay, what does he talk about in Grind State?
F the BS. Get the money.
Okay, I hear you. Okay. Alright. Anything else you want to spit on Jeezy? Young Jeezy.
Yeah, that Thug Motivation.
Okay. And see, alright. Now, here's what I got to say about that. And this might be applicable to other cuts you might have on your list. I don't know, because we have yet to share that. But when I talk about like the bling bling shoot 'em up, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Like when Tupac was coming out, I didn't listen to Tupac because that's what I heard a lot of his messages. Now I could be contradictory, I could be called hypocrite because I listened to the Digital Underground, and the Digital Underground was like pop. They made it onto the mainstream airwaves first. Coming out of the Bay Area. Are you familiar with the Digital Underground?
I've heard a few of their tracks.
Now, back in the day, this was when I was in high school. They were the ones that were popular. They made it on the radio. They had their whole shtick. It was a little bit antique-y, and additionally, but they were getting play, getting airwave on the radio. And Tupac was just like their apprentice. Like he wasn't even part of the strong group or whatever. But he had his own thing going on at the time. So after like Digital Underground had their like 15 moments of fame or whatever, they kind of continue on, and then meanwhile Tupac starts to make a name for himself, and he starts to come up with his own solo joints or whatever. And so I listened to Digital. I didn't buy any Digital. I didn't buy too much because I didn't have too much money to buy stuff back then. But I did listen to a lot of Digital Underground, and it was catchy and it was kind of charismatic. But when Tupac came out, I knew he was connected with Digital Underground, but then he was like on a different vibe. Like he wasn't talking about the stuff that Digital Underground was like one of those party kind of record kind of cats. Tupac was talking about, this is where I'm coming from, what's up? And I'm like, that's not, I'm one who's like about upliftment and like purposefulness and this, that, and the other. And I'm at an age where like, stay away from the shoot 'em up, this, that, and the other. Don't get caught up in that. It's too easy to get caught up. So I just like blinders on. So I didn't listen to too much Tupac. Then when I was in undergrad, that's when the whole Tupac made a rise. I mean, he obviously had his thing in jail. He came out with All Eyes on Me, and then the feud with Biggie starts to emerge. Another case in point of that. Obviously, that's like the typical, or that's like the epitome. But even then, I was like, yep, see, that's why I wasn't listening to too much Biggie. And then cats, when I was at the university I was at, Hampton, that's all day. There are a lot of cats from New York holding the Sunnyland and representing Brooklyn and everything else. So, but I didn't like buy into that too much. Now, all that being said, then Tupac gets killed, and everybody is grieving him. And some of my closest friends were on Tupac. Like they're like, we gotta listen to it. I remember my friend got All Eyes on Me when it was the day it was released. He went to the record store and made it a point like, you gotta listen to this. So I was like, I'll listen to some of it. But anyways, then he gets killed, and then Then I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna pay him respect because I know he meant something to a lot of people. I'm gonna listen to some of the stuff that he has, and so I listen to some of the tracks, and I'm like, okay, I see some message, and the reason why I say all this is because the thing I appreciate, like when cats are like representing their hood, like I respect that and I appreciate that. And like cats talking about like coming from the struggle and like doing what they got to do to feed the family. In addition, yo, okay, I respect that, I see that. And like when Biggie was coming out, like yo, I see Biggie got skills. Like he put the words together, he got the flow. I mean, come on, he got Puff Daddy bringing back the '70s tracks with the remix and everything. So yo, all the aesthetics are there, and it's like okay, I know I like that. That's cool. But like the content of the message is like. It doesn't have anything that I can grow from in terms of like, yo, what do I bring back to the community and how do we uplift ourselves and additionally. So I could like appreciate literally almost everything about the track and the artist except for like the content of the lyrics. I could appreciate like the poetic devices, the alliteration, the rhyme scheme, the flow, the cadence, the swag,
the skills.
Yeah, all that. I could appreciate all that, but just as like except for the meat of what's being said. So anyways, but then when I was listening to Tupac again after he passes, and I'm like, okay, you know, I see some substance here. So yeah, I can not pay attention or not buy into whatever else is going on, but right here, I'll give an example. Is Nipsey Hussle's Tupac isn't on my list, and that's interesting. I'm just now recognizing that. Interesting. But one track that I have that has probably over like 200, 300 listens to on my iTunes account, because sometimes I just put that on play and repeat and let it sit. Is wow. This is what it's like when on the spot. What's that track? It's on the
By Tupac?
Yeah. I'm gonna think. I'm gonna work this out. I was just playing it like a week ago. So what I'll do is I'll say how it goes. Doom 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 doom.
Shed so many tears.
Thank you. So many tears. That's what it is. So anyways, I play that track because sometimes like nobody speaks to that kind of angst and that suffering or whatever else like Tupac does on that track. And so I know what it's like. I appreciate when a cat comes from the hood, comes from the experience, and it's like, yo, this is things is hellish here, and like, but I'm gonna share this light in the best way I know how. And that's relatability because people feel the suffering, people feel the struggle, and so I respect that. And anyways, that's what I'm saying. When you talk about cat representing, like being determined and like getting emerging from that, I respect that. But I also have to recognize the aggregate that of the message that a person's putting out, and then putting it in balance accordingly. So, all right, have I talked myself in a hole enough at the moment?
No, I'm just waiting on the next one.
All right, here. So my number 5, and yeah, we'll continue with this. So my number 5, haha. You probably never heard this cat before. Actually, I might have mentioned him before, but this is probably the cat that's most recent. He's still putting stuff out. He's a young cat. His name is Ben Blackwell, aka Ben Shakar. Do you remember me saying anything about him before?
No.
Aha. Well, and you've never heard of him before, yeah?
No, right.
Aha. So you're like, oh, somebody new. All right, Ben Blackwell, aka Ben Shakar. He's coming out of Israel. How about that? And so he's part of the African Hebrew Israelites of Yerushalayim, living in Dimona, Israel. And he's in his mid-20s, late 20s. And he's coming from, first of all, like you have to understand like the spiritual, political, cultural heritage that he's emerging from, that is representing. So to understand that, it's a matter of understanding the story of the African Hebrew Israelites, a community of people of African ancestry and Israelite ancestry, and they would say that all of that is the same thing. But anyways, they come out. There's one, the leader, Ben-Ami, I want to say, is the leader of the community back over 50 years ago, living in Chi-Town in the land of Miami, in Chicago, Illinois. It's just like, yo, we got to move back to Israel, and recognizing being descendants of Israel. And so he and a group of people first go to, I think it was Ghana in Africa, and then from Ghana go to Israel, without a passport or without like papers or whatever. Just like, yo, we're about to be here and we're about to stay here, and that's what they do. And in doing that, Israel is a comparatively new nation, and they're still dealing with like strife and everything else like that, and doesn't accept the group, doesn't accept the community, but also is unable to like kick them out categorically because that causes waves internationally. So basically, just tolerate the community and like puts them in a corner and be like, yeah, do whatever. And so it's a continual struggle to this day between the community and Israel. Still have yet to be recognized. Still have yet to be given citizenship. And additionally, there's some improvements that are made, but it's still a matter of like going from the political persecution in the United States to the political persecution in Israel. Now, meanwhile, having a knowledge of self, studying scriptures and studying the teachings and living that, living a righteous lifestyle. And a righteous discipline, and then doing what the community can do to like make a living. And so that involves food preparation. They're known for having vegan restaurants because the community is vegan generally across the community. But then also doing like soul music, and that's one of the things that popularizes the community amongst the Israeli community, amongst the Israeli society, is coming out with like the soul music for the past 50 years or whatever. And so those are the conditions that Ben Blackwell emerges, being the descendant of the son of some of those musicians and that culture and that heritage and legacy. The new generation starts to express themselves through hip hop and expressing that experience of affliction globally within the U.S. and within Israel, because many of the members are able to travel back and forth. He does himself, and so staying connected with the culture here in the U.S. and like all the hip hop influences in the U.S. and globally, and then spitting the experience from living in Dimona, Israel, and so. That's one of the reasons why he's on my 5 list, because he's new, but his message is powerful because he has like the spiritual knowledge, so that his words have weight, and not just weight in the black community, but weight in the global community. And so when he's talking about the affliction that the community is experiencing in Dimona, and making references to the Torah and the Bible, and additionally, when we say resonant, there it is. But still, he has the swag and everything else that it would be very difficult to tell that he was not from Chi-Town, or he wasn't from Boogie Down or someplace else, because that's the swag he has, except for the fact that he also spits in Hebrew. So now it's multilingual, and that's also expanding the Black African diaspora. And consciousness and the diplomacy as well. So it's like on all these different levels. That's like where the game is these days, because that's where hip hop is these days. And so that's why he's my number 5 cat. And the go-to track that I would have for him is "Your Son's a Star." And so it's actually in a Hebrew term, but I have difficulty translating it specifically to that. So I'll just leave it to the English translation. "Your son's a star." But we abstain from playing it at the moment at the risk of, I don't even know if he would have a copyrighted, but he probably wouldn't. But
it's on iTunes.
It is on iTunes.
Oh yeah.
Actually, no. It's not on iTunes. But it might be on iTunes. I looked for it on iTunes, but I didn't find it. I had to get it. I actually downloaded it from YouTube.
I mean, just the fact that he created it, means that it's copyrighted.
It's protected in one way. It's
official. It's just not like registered if it's not.
Yeah, but my point for that is just saying that we're not sharing the actual tracks on this recording just for that purpose. So, but the production on that cut, like I've shared it with cats here, and they're like, all right, now they didn't know what he was saying because it's all in Hebrew for the most part. But they were like, yo, the beat was kind of tight, and so obviously like that has a significant factor in somebody's like willing to listen to it, and so that's my number 5 on this joint. So
yeah, okay.
All right, you want to go into your 4?
All right. This is an easy number 4 for me.
Okay.
I gotta go with Drake.
Drake, okay.
Drake is closest to my age in this list.
Okay.
And really watched a lot of his career from where I can watch. And it's really been a joy to watch him continue to prosper and really create music that's fun to listen to, that he speaks to a lot of the things that he sees, which are some of the things that I don't see. So it's kind of good to see how a person who raps sees life from a different perspective than me, which is probably what all the other artists do.
What does he see differently than what you see that you found?
Just some of the little nuances that some people do. Like, he had a line in the song called "Emotionless," which is the song that I picked.
Okay.
I know a girl whose one goal was to visit Rome. Then she finally got to Rome, and all she did was post pictures for people at home. So she could impress everybody that she's known. And there's another line in there. It's talking about how he doesn't open up the messages he sees anymore because it's probably just someone who's underage and alone and afraid, and just spilling out so someone else can feel their pain. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of things going on, and although a lot of people don't really share how deep what they're feeling goes, it's really inconceivable to deny that there's something going on with them, especially when there may be times that they may act out or engage in other risky behaviors. I mean,
so in
the name of the song is called "Emotionless."
Emotionless. So it sounds as though he's describing an experience of being overwhelmed by the reaching out towards him, of people reaching out to him because they relate to him and what he shares, and want to like share some of what they're experiencing, but maybe it's a little bit too much for what he's ready to like accept. Is that kind of like the gist of it, or?
Well, yeah, he has another line. It's like, I'm in limbo, trying to question what I believe, asking if there's motive in making peace, leading me to not trust anybody I meet, leading me to ask, is there anybody like me? Yeah, it's kind of in a way that he can kind of reel some people in.
Okay.
Because of course there's gonna be people like, oh yeah, me, I am.
Everybody's
I like you. I think we can get along. And but I mean, I met him in person. He's a cool dude. Just from the 5 minutes that I was in the same room with him.
Okay.
I mean, and then really being able to kind of have another dimension into the art that he creates.
Does he ever talk about, like, I know he's mixed, and I know he comes from Canada and Toronto and an experience there. I know he was on the new Degrassi High as a young actor. And part of his mixed ancestry includes Jewish roots. And so does he ever talk about his spirituality? Because you mentioned before some of that existential kind of searching in his lyrics. Does he ever specifically talk about his religious heritage or that kind of experience in his lyrics?
If he does, it's cryptic.
Okay.
So I haven't really found it.
Okay.
However, back in 2011, he released an album called "Take Care," and that was around the time he went and had a second bar mitzvah.
Ah, interesting. That's the first I heard about that. Okay.
And they filmed the party.
Okay.
And turned it into a music video.
Mm.
The name of the song is HYFR.
HYFR. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Effing right.
Okay. All right.
Sometimes it's hard for me to really, express that out in the world. And that's his song anyway.
Okay. Yeah. And well, yeah, that's cool. So, all right. Anything else you want to say about Drake?
Drake's a really cool dude. He's got a lot of music that he's released over time. Even his first album, Thank Me Later, and his mixtape stuff hasn't really gotten old to me. And I try to keep a wide variety of artists that I listen to. And it's hard for that music to get old for me.
Okay.
I enjoy him. He's solid.
He's got
4.
charisma. He's got swagger. And there's the intellect. And additionally, now to be honest, I've heard very few of his tracks. And even in the tracks I've I've only heard him so many, or so many times. But I know he's very popular, obviously, and there's a probably, well, he has very strong fans, fans who feel strongly about him, and so there's just that off rip is a matter of having respect and appreciation for that. So that's just my segue to sharing my number 4. All right, are you ready for my number 4?
Lay it on me.
Another cat you've never heard of before, and he's recent actually. Also, he's a young cat. His name is San E. San E. He's coming from Korea. Now, to be honest, I've maybe heard a few of his tracks, but there's probably only one track why I'm including him on this, and that track is called "Hip Hop Is Hip Hop," and it's off the strength of that track alone that I'm including him on this list. And so, "Hip Hop Is Hip Hop." Basically, that's a compilation. It's an ensemble. So there are probably about over half a dozen MCs that are on that track, and each MC is from a different country. How about that? So I'm all about the internationality. I'm all about like the bridge building. That's who I am. That's what I'm about. And so he put this track together. He organized it. He's an MC coming out of Korea, and he's like, yo, I got this project in mind. Like I want to like connect with these other dudes. So he got like this. The track has basically like 3 different productions, like meaning like 3 different like beats to it, but it's all blended together, and then so the artists are all spitting on a portion of that track, and so like I said, there's over half a dozen. There's an introduction to there's a video on YouTube that shares it, and that's Alfred, by the way, one of my neighbors. He's nice. There is a video on YouTube, and to introduce the track, it's KRS-One. So he's giving a nod to like the old heads and paying respect, and so KRS-One gives like an introduction to the track, and he's like, all right, go at it. And so Sani is the first one to spit, and then after him, like there's a cat from Italy, there's a cat from Hong Kong and India and Portugal and Finland and Wales and I want to say someplace in South America, Yanomami land additionally. But anyways, over half a dozen, and like all in their own language. You can see the subtitles and what they're saying. And they're also spit on different stuff. And so people might call me a hypocrite, like, wait, you said you're all about the message. And a lot of the stuff they're talking about just like representing their hood. So I don't know I can't vouch for like every MC what their whole thing is, whatever. But it's just the fact that all these MCs came together and put together this project that's saying a lot, and it's saying a lot about like where hip hop is and where hip hop needs to be in terms of its consciousness, in terms of its like just awareness, and its politics and its organizing, and additionally. And so this project was completed maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and there have been other projects that I've seen like this. For example, Cannabis. Is it Cannabis? I think. He did a track with like 4 artists from different places. And I was impressed by that. That was the first time I saw that. But then Sonny came out with this one, which was just like off the chain. So anyways, that's why he's on my 4, just because of the representation. He's given like all these hoods a shout out. And there are a few cats. I know, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but all the big cats that I know coming from this land, I happy to see do like a major collab, particularly with a number of different artists internationally. And particularly like Sonny, he's like a modestly known, like who I've never heard of him before. So it's not like his record label is like organizing it and then saying, "Oh, we want you to do this project." He did it himself, and he orchestrated it. So anyways, that's one of the things that's impressive about that. I'll leave it at that. So yeah. Numero 3.
Well, before we get into that,
okay, you want to step on that?
I just want to hit on because I mean, with hip hop, you know, it's mainly like a black thing. And, but there's so many people who are of different races and ethnicities and cultures that are really into hip hop. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that are okay with that, like some of the gatekeepers of rap that are okay with that.
Okay.
And one guy that I really enjoy that didn't really take off like everybody had expected him to was Jin.
Jen.
J-I-N, Jin.
J-I-N, okay.
Yeah. He was with Rough Riders for a while, but I don't know what happened with him. I think I might be able to find him on a website if I look for him. But he came up on Freestyle Friday on BET during 106 in Park.
Okay.
They had Freestyle Friday, and it was like one person came up and went against the challenger, and they battled each other for like a minute. They had a couple rounds. Okay. And the winner would stay on for the next week. Okay. But nobody had won 7 weeks in a row. They're like, when 7 weeks in a row comes up, you know, you win Freestyle Friday. All right. So this Chinese guy's name is Jin. Okay. And he's got these mad punchlines. Okay. And you know, people really enjoyed him because he was like somebody different. He was coming on, and you know, he had his own swag, and he was just really roasting these dudes in like 30 seconds. Okay. And so he had got to like 5-6 weeks, and Rough Riders came out, and they're like co-signing. They're like, if you win Freestyle Friday, we're gonna give you a record deal. And he ended up winning. Okay. So he was running Rough Riders for a while, and then he ended up just going independent. I don't know if he actually dropped an album. Okay. So that's worth checking out.
Interesting. Okay.
But that kind of leads me into my number 3 because I wanted to really just talk about the differences in people and how hip hop is bringing that all together. Okay. And my number 3 is Eminem.
Okay.
I mean, lyrical ability, the sheer amount of content that, I mean, he's still relevant, and he's been in the game for over 2 decades now. I mean, I kind of missed the whole Slim Shady LP wave. Okay. But I did listen to My Name Is a lot. Well, Actually, that was my the first album I ever bought was Marshall Mathers LP, which was his second album.
Now, I'm trying to think. The Slim Shady joint. That's the actual song. That's the actual track. Slim Shady. The reason I ask is because when you said...
He has a song called I'm Shady.
Okay.
But the Slim Shady LP was his first album.
Okay. Because I was just trying to make the distinction. Because when you said you didn't catch on to that wave, but then you listened to the "Hi, my name is." My thought was like the next part of that line is "Hi, my name is what? Hi,
my name is Slim Shady." Yeah.
So I was like, wait a minute, how did you not do this one? But then this is where
the name of the song was
okay.
"My Name Is." No, I'm saying I listened to that song a lot, which is on that album,
and that's how you started getting the interest or the appreciation.
But I mean, I hadn't the maturity enough to really understand the depth in his lyrics and what he had to say. Okay. Even though a lot of it was about jokes and stuff, it was about some real situations. Yeah. Like it's a lot of stuff that could happen when things go wrong. Yeah. And I mean, some of my inside jokes have to do with Eminem and somebody accidentally overdosing on mushrooms and having to babysit them and kind of bring them back to reality. Well, I mean, I notice a lot of people are not in touch with reality as much as they like to be. And it might just be a different reality or a piece of reality that they need in order to really continue in a way that we could all behave appropriately. But the song that I chose by Eminem was something that kind of represents who he is. And the songs that I chose were songs that kind of show some kind of gratitude from them, like some type of humility, and kind of allow them to really kind of go as far as they can in trying to express something about which they're passionate. And the song that I chose was "White America" off of his, I think it was 2003, The Eminem Show.
Okay, I don't think I've heard this one before. I don't know. Okay, what's it about?
It's about how the duality of the white ethnicity, and even though he's a white person who raps, he's still amidst all this controversy. Yet there's still a lot of other white people who aren't around hip hop who are doing some not so kosher things. And I mean, it's part of what fuels the anger of Slim Shady, the hypocrisy of people who don't even engage in those particular realms. But it's for Eminem. It's a hat that he wears very very workingly. I mean, he puts to work what he does, and I mean, he just came out with an album this year.
Oh wow! Okay, I didn't know that.
And it's a fun album, but he's really outlasted a lot of people who had originally said he wouldn't make it or always had something to say about what he's doing. Okay. They may still have something to say, which is hard to believe, 20 years later. But it's good to see somebody of which I'm a fan still topping charts.
Okay. Cool. So it's funny when you were just saying that, I was thinking about to like respond to that to Eminem on your list. I think about the first track that I hear him on, and Eminem is my age, and so I kind of like, there's that kind of realm of familiarity. So I've heard a lot of stuff. I didn't listen to a lot of his stuff through the years because he talks about something that's a little bit of a different experience. But again, very intelligent, puts the lyrics together, very not even just intelligent, but just witty, and like the lyricism is just like, I could even like utilize the word genius in the way he presents. Now that's a heavy word, that's a big word, but it's like he has that type of skill. So I respect that, and I also respect the experience that he's coming from, and the challenges that he has, being a brother of European ancestry, dealing and making a name for himself in a very strong, like you said, Black African environment. And being able to emerge. Ha 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 ha. I think it stopped recording. So I might have to edit some stuff.
You want to keep going? I still.
Oh yeah, all right, cool. That's cool. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna keep going anyways, but I'm just going to record it again. So I don't know where it stopped recording. I didn't see that because, like I said, I mentioned before, like this joint stops after an hour. So, anyways, we'll keep on. If you could forward me that, your file, I would appreciate that. Cool. What are you recording on?
Recorder.
Oh, just the phone recorder? All right, cool. See, that's why I have to, the backups and everything. So, anyways, I was talking about him emerging and making a name for himself and then getting respect. Getting a certain amount of credibility amongst the heavyweights in the industry and in the community based upon the skills that he has and him proving himself, doing the battles and additionally. So the first cut that I remember was the one he came out with Dre, and you were saying like people got something to say, and I thought you were about to quote it. Everybody got talk like they got something to say, but they couldn't because they forgot about Dre. I flubbed the lines, but it's that thing. So I think that was his coming out kind of joint, and I was like, yo, hold up, when did Snoop like get blonde hair and come out of 8 Mile or whatever? But obviously Dre finds the talent, and Eminem makes inroads for himself, and so like Eminem had the platform, and I mean he had the beats by Dre. So I mean, once he got like people's ear, like he's like, okay, I got it now, and so now he starts to like do it himself. So that was like the coming out thing that I remember doing. Then obviously. There are two other things that stand out in my mind in terms of the things that I've heard him share. One is the scene from 8 Mile, and that's the track of I don't know what the name of the track is called.
Lose Yourself.
That's what it is, yeah. But I mean, just the way he begins that, I mean, he's just giving that experience of what it's like to like be in a battle and be on stage and just like. There's a very palpable sense of like going through what the person is going through, and he does it in a very skillful, artistic and effective way. And then the beat comes in and he just keeps on going. And so I appreciate that one. And then the other one is the joint that he had with the Dido song. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Stan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, first of all, I mean, Dido, I don't know if you probably heard the song before, like when she had it. So, that's a beautiful song. And I think he was like, yo, I like that song. Yo, let me do something with that. So, then he made the connection or whatever. But then, like, the message. Now, this is the substance. I appreciate him going through this because he's telling the story. And from the point of the person who's writing him that fan letter, when you're talking about Drake and the people like sharing their problems, whatever, here's this dude giving him this fan letter, whatever, and then all of a sudden it's the reveal at the end of the twist, and it's like, oh, okay, that was a nicely told story. So again, skill, and that wasn't just a matter of the lyricism. It's like the concept of that, and it coming to the full circle type effect. So I appreciate that. So yeah, I appreciate the skill that he has. Yeah. So continue on to the
you got
number three. All right, so now we're gonna go to the homegrown cats. So all the rest of these cats are homegrown, and this number 3 I have as Yasin Bey, aka Mighty Most Def.
Mm-hmm.
So again, my age there, but he's a little bit older, I think, than myself. But I distinctly remember when he was coming onto the scene, and actually, I remember when he came onto the scene without even knowing he came onto the scene, because I first directly learned about him in '99 when he came out with his Black on Both Sides LP or CD or whatever it is these days, Upload, which is a classic, and he does things on that. First of all, his mindset, like his delivery or his consciousness and everything else he's coming, what he's spitting about is very very conscientious and uplifting. Not everything, because there's some things that I disagree with, but he has a lot of positive message, a powerful message. And actually, that would be my go-to track. It was difficult for me to think of just one for him, particularly from that album. So I just said, let me go track number 1. And that's his opening. And so for the first off, like the beginning of it, he starts his whole dolo, his first solo album, with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So wait, what's going on right there? So it's the Muslim call to prayer. It's the proclamation. It's a spiritual proclamation. It's a religious proclamation, but it's also a political proclamation. And so most of it's like, let's start this. And he begins it in a traditional, ancient, and relevant way. And then what his message is just like that intro track. It's not, he didn't release it. It's not even like a typical track. He's just like sharing his mind. It's probably scripted, but still, he's just like, he's just conversating to the people like, here's my album. This is what's on my mind. This is what people are coming at me with. And so here's what I got to share with you. And then so the message right there is positive. I don't know if you know what if you.
I haven't listened to it.
So
but I will.
Okay, yeah. So basically, he just like he gives his like analysis of where hip hop is at that moment and where it needs to go, and it's an introduction to his album. And so he covers a lot of topics on his album, and that's like my go-to track for him. And to be honest, I have to think about what the title of it. It might be just intro or something like that. But it has a nice beat. It has nice production, and he does flow on it. It's not just talking, but he does flow on it as well. So that's the go-to track that I have for him. And one of the things I'll also add is that in that album, the musicality of it is very dynamic, and he is one of the first acts that I can think of that incorporates singing into the delivery. Obviously, I mean, Bonehead came out a number of years before that, and it was like that's what it was. But even then, that kind of style, that kind of approach of like bringing singing into hip hop. Usually, it was just the R&B dude who would be on the track and lace the track like a Joe or something like that, and they would lace the track. But the MC was always just spitting, and that's it, because it's a very macho kind of bravado type thing, and singing is considered like the soft thing, and so. The only way that a dude can pull off singing is if he could pull women with singing. Otherwise, he looks soft or suspect or whatever else. So, when it comes to MCs, and particularly MCs who are making a name for themselves, they got to be hardcore, this, that, and the other. Well, no, we don't sing. But particularly after like the predecessors of Bone, and additionally, he sings on this track. Now, it's not a lot, and most of it is just him flowing as an MC. But he does have some tracks where he does sing. He's on there with Vinia Mojica, who's on a lot of hip hop tracks as a vocalist, a female vocalist. And he has a track on there called "Climb," I think it is. That's nice. That's just singing. So, anyways, it's just it's a fantastic classic album for a number of reasons. So that's what I share.
All right.
You've heard of him with Mos Def before?
Yeah, I've heard of Mos Def.
Okay.
And I didn't even know until over the weekend that he released some music under the name Yasin Bey.
Yeah, that's the name that he goes by these days. So
Well,
yeah.
I really do enjoy his music.
Okay. What's the go-to track, or what's the track that you can think of?
I don't have any.
All right, let's go. I don't
have any.
Put you on the spot. All right.
My number 2.
All right.
One of my favorite artists. Definitely lyrically sound, and he's got a lot of punchlines.
Do I get to guess?
His performances are live.
Okay. Can I guess?
You might get it.
Okay. I might get it.
You might
get it.
Yeah.
So wait, you got 2 spots left. So if you put Drake on the list, then there are 2 cats that you have yet to mention. That obviously kind of going like the same combo with Drake, which would be J. Cole, and you're like, I didn't see in your response, like, so then I don't think that's the one. And then the other one would be Kendrick Lamar, and so
I didn't put either one of those on the list.
Okay, and I don't know if you're gonna put Jay-Z on the list, but those would be like the obvious kind of things. So all right, I put that out there, but anyways, it ain't it. So all right.
Yeah. I had to go with Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne. All right. Well, I guess that would be the 4th dude to put up if I was going to make a guess. So yeah. All right. So what's up with Lil Wayne?
Lil Wayne has been creating music for almost as long as I've been listening to music.
Okay.
And it's hard for me to think of a conversation about music and Lil Wayne is not somewhere thinkable there.
Okay. Why? Because to be honest, I couldn't. It would be difficult for me to think of a thing that he's made. So, I don't mean it as this. I'm interested. Like, I respect the fact that he has that influence on you, and you're not the only one. I've heard other people, particularly young people, have that kind of appreciation for it. And the way you describe that, it's a matter of like he's saying something that is like meaningful for you. And so I'm interested. Generally, like, so what is it? What is he saying? What is he talking about? Or why is it that he has that kind of influence to be your number 2?
Yeah, well, he's a mind expander. I mean, it's when I look at hip hop, I look at delivery, I look at punchlines, I look at consistency in releases. Like, are you still making music? And is that music quality? Does it make me want to listen to it again? Does it create some type of feeling in me that when I can't find this music that I'm looking for, that I want to listen to it, but I can't listen to it?
Is it the production? I mean, is it like the musicality? Is it the lyrics?
I mean, he's just like a raw dude.
Swag? Okay.
Yeah.
It's just he coming like he's just like you can tell like that's him. Like he's coming with the realness or whatever. And so
well, yeah. When Lil Wayne comes out with something, I know there's something that I want to hear. I want to hear what he's gonna say.
Okay, so he knows it's gonna be quality. In terms of like the I don't want to say just the aesthetics of it, but okay.
Rap quality.
Okay.
High quality rap.
Okay. All right.
And I mean, he is insightful in some ways, and he's very inspiring in the terms of stay on your grind and do what you got to do to make it. Because I mean, if not, you're gonna end up as one of these people who tried to make it and isn't making it. It doesn't mean give up. And even though I've quit a couple times, I've learned not to give up, and I keep that with me.
So he has a relatability, and in the message of perseverance and success. There's a certain amount of in that relatability of if this is coming from who he is and what he's experienced, then this is something that I can also implement myself, because I see the similarities between myself and him. Is that kind of like what the experience is?
I mean, it's in a couple ways.
Okay.
I mean, I like my personality, and I like his personality, and I like things that could happen should our personalities be in the same place. It just opens up an arena for some joy, positivity, and fun.
So when you say the different personalities, are you saying that there is a similarity of personalities, or are you saying it's like a complementary of personalities?
Complementary.
Because maybe it's like almost, I don't want, it's a little bit maybe a little bit like well, I'll just say it. Is it something like an alter ego, perhaps in some ways, of like you're seeing something in him that you like, but that's different from yourself, and not you still like yourself as much as can be, but it's like he's got this other personality, and so like it's like the connection or the support that the two different sides have for each other of like the building.
I mean, I know that if we were riding together, we'd be able to make more out of it.
I hear you. Okay.
Because when I listen to him, I'm able to make more out of it.
Okay. All right. So,
out of where I am.
What's when you say you said something about expanding the mind? What's an example of that?
All right. Well, in the song I chose, "Nightmares of the Bottom,"
okay,
off his Carter 4 album.
Okay.
It says, "Everybody wants to be fly till you spot 'em. Well, who am I to talk? I'm not pooping roses. We all in the same picture, but we all got different poses." A little bit of
okay,
just a way to look at it.
Yeah, and the way that he points it out. I mean, it's a complex concept in certain ways of like relativity of people being different but still being together, like we're in the same picture but we got different poses. So like we have this connection with ourselves, we have this shared experience, but simultaneously like we're different cats and we've got our different stilos and everything else like that. And so I mean, European philosophers can talk about this for ages and ages and ages and use a lot of multi-syllable words to describe it, but he just put it in a few lines that says the same thing that people can relate to, because they've been. I'm thinking to myself like going to Vels or someplace else, one of the nightclubs here that was around back in my day, where people would one of the things that they would have is like the dude would be the photographer at the front room or whatever. So before people got into the club, he had like different sets of backdrops that people take a photo of, and then like if a crew was coming together, oh yo, let's get a photograph. Now I never did that myself, but I know a lot of cats did it. So now everybody's taking a photograph and doing their own poses or whatever else. So they're in the photograph together. It's that night experience. They all sharing it, but they all got their own different poses or whatever. So
they all had their own stories.
Yeah, and I remember like when I was at university, being in a fraternity, being in the same photograph was like a big thing. Like the fraternity I'm in is called Kappa Alpha Psi, and one of the words that's utilized to describe us are noops. And so one of the popular things is that like when we had a cookout or when we were on the yard or whatever else, people say let's take a photo, and then everybody would be like noop flick, and then that'd be the thing like, oh, we got to get in the photograph, we got to represent, we got to be seen, whatever. And then in doing that, it was like a popularity thing or whatever, but then we would all have to like do our own kind of thing or whatever. So some cats would be like all demonstrative, and some people would be laid back and chill, whatever. Some people would be in the front, some people would be in the back or whatever else, but it's all being part of the same collective. And so anyways, yeah, I can appreciate that message and the message that he shares with that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's and I mean he's great to watch performing live. And, when you watch his interviews, he's a really fun
That's where my frame of reference is, because I've seen him on television. I haven't heard too much of his music, but I've seen his interviews and stuff like that, and how he carries himself, and I can see that there's an intelligence there, and he's a presence, and he has a way of like holding his own amidst the different social environments. So I can appreciate that. Do you know who Trick Daddy is?
I do.
You do?
Yeah, not very well.
Okay, yeah, I don't know too much either, but I just say it because he is a video. Like I think he had like one track that made it like onto like the mainstream airwaves or whatever, and this is back like in the '90s, and that on the video for that track, they show him at a restaurant, and it's like some five-star fancy high class restaurant or whatever. And instead of like eating what everybody else is eating, they like go and get some fried chicken, and so they're like kind of like doing their own thing in this fancy restaurant or whatever, and he's just kind of like whatever, and he doesn't he's like thumbing his nose to the establishment or whatever. But when I think of Lil Wayne, it's in that kind of similar vein of just kind of being able to be himself regardless of what the situation is. And in being himself, he is pronounced and memorable. So, all right, I'm going on to my number 2 now. Right, 2. All right.
Yeah, 2.
Number 2, it's a female act. Any guess who might be?
I'd rather not.
All right, let's go. I'll just say it, Lauryn Hill. So, some might consider it like a consideration of being PC and having a token woman on the list, or whatever. We all know that Lauryn Hill holds her own, and in her Miseducation, Lauryn Hill, that's a classic as well. I tell people that, you know who W.E.B. Du Bois is, or Du Bois. He comes out with the Souls of Black Folk, like many people call it like the Bible of Black Folk. Over a century ago, the first person of African ancestry to graduate from Harvard with a PhD, and additionally, so starts the NAACP, and additionally, so. Anyways, he wrote that book, Souls of Black Folk, a century ago, and I refer to Lauryn Hill's album as the response to Souls of Black Folk, because that album, the issues that she addresses in that, and how she addresses it, and the consciousness that she does, her spirituality, her politics, her mindset, her humbleness, and everything, is fantastic. It's phenomenal. And so, anyways, that's the number 2 on this list. And I mean, she's got lyrics, she's got skills, her delivery, she's got intelligence and charisma, and all those components as well. If I were to identify like a specific track for her, it would be difficult, because to be honest, like it depends on what you need at that moment. You can listen to Everything Is Everything. You can listen if someone just did you wrong and betrayed you, did you dirty. You listen to Lost Ones. But like it depends upon what the need of the day is. So it's difficult for me to identify just one track as the go-to track. But Lauryn Hill is my number 2.
All right. I'm a big fan of female artists.
Yeah.
No, I actually started listening to Megan Thee Stallion.
Okay.
You know Megan Thee Stallion?
I've heard that name before.
And it's about appreciating what people have to say. Should they be putting it on for a performance? You know? And, you know, you give people a chance, because when you listen to them, or when you're just out and about, you listen to just the environment, and their song was playing, and you were bumping your head a little bit, and yeah, you didn't give them a chance when you had your free time. So here I am. I had my free time, and I was like, all right, there she is. just pull this up and start listening to it. And you gotta appreciate the build-ups, and I mean, everybody's gonna have their chances. It's just are they gonna be around to see him, and how they took their chance gonna impact you? I have a number one that I chose.
Let's hear the number one.
My number one is hip hop's first billionaire.
First billionaire.
Yes. He's got a lot of longevity. He's pushing on 24 years. It's gonna be 25 years very soon.
Okay.
And he's gonna be eligible for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I think he'll be able to get enough votes.
So right now I'm supposed to guess this, and I have to get it right now too, because there are only few that could fit that category, particularly to make that much money. So the first person I think of is Dre, but he's been around first of all for over 25 years. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know who's a billionaire.
We've touched on him earlier.
We've already addressed him. So Jay-Z.
Yeah,
but Jay-Z's been around for more than 25 years.
Well, not on his own platform.
Okay. All right.
Officially.
Okay. Okay.
He has been making music for a very long time, since late 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
But he didn't really. I mean, his first official album was in '96.
Okay.
And Reasonable Doubt.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's got a song on there called "Can I Live?" And it's a song that I hold pretty close to me, because seems like it's been one thing I've been trying to do for a good portion of my life, is just trying to live my life with a little bit less stress from some of the unrealities in this world. And by unrealities, I mean things that I can't address. And he's shown some longevity. He just showed up on an album that was with Jay Electronica.
Okay, I heard that name before. Yeah.
And I mean, Can I Live is like a testimony, like, man, all this stuff going on, I gotta keep my own wits about me and still continue to provide some type of content that's gonna allow me to provide in more than just the superficial realm. And it's a good thing to see people still make it after so long. And if there was a gauge as to how often I'd be allowed to listen to music before I just played it out, I'd have to say that when it comes to Jay-Z, who's like one of the best people who rap, there's a tuner that I can moderate how much I can listen to him without having to play him out, and it's a good thing, because it kind of shows that he's still got an ear to what's going on in the general public. You know,
what is it about?
Feeling.
What is it about his delivery, what he shares, his music, that obviously, like I said, he's been doing it for decades. What is it that he shares that keeps him relevant amongst the young people? Because right now we're talking about two different generations at this point. I mean, my generation and I mean, we're not too different from each other, you and me. But even like if you talk to youngsters these days,
you mean the next generation?
like this generation, teenagers these days. I imagine if we were talking teenagers on the street and we said Jay-Z, they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, he's doing it." Or maybe no. See, that's interesting. Okay, cool, interesting. Now I appreciate that because presuming, let's say that they would at least know who he is, and like have a certain amount of respect for what he's doing. But probably he's produced less in recent years than he does previously, so the younger audience may have less of a familiarity with what he shares. But let's just presume that's the case. Like if they listen to some of the stuff, maybe they'll be like, "Oh, all right." But let's just presume that, or at least let's take it from where you start listening to him over about 25 years ago up to the point where you consider to him to be like the relevant go-to guy. Let's just take it that frame of reference. For that duration, what is it that he's sharing that continually resonates with people that makes him seen and celebrated in such a way? What is he sharing?
A community involvement.
Okay.
We see him in more than just rap music.
Okay.
And he's maintained some type of success, and he's been a trailblazer in a lot of arenas.
So something like similar to Nipsey Hussle, where the type of reverence that people have for Nipsey Hussle, because he was talking about the game, but he was also like making moves outside of the music realm, and starting up businesses and telling people how to like set things up for people's own. Would you liken that to Jay-Z as well in terms of what he's been able to do in terms of in his involvement with sports and business, and additionally, so he's flipping his music cachet into other industries, and additionally, so that he's able to like expand the game in his repertoire of what a hip hop artist does in society at large. Is that what you're describing? I don't want to like force.
Yeah,
but
I mean, if you're able to deal with as much scrutiny, and I'm not him to say how much scrutiny he goes under, but there's a good portion of the stuff that he shows us that he's facing and still triumphs over that adversity.
Yeah.
Showing that, I'm gonna live my life anyway. And I'm gonna do a good job at it. And he sets a good standard for what we can achieve.
Okay. So I mean, it's there's little denying what he's able to do in music as well as outside of music. When you describe him as the first hip hop billionaire, so there has to be respect for that. Again, I didn't listen to too much of his music like through my years because he talks about a different subject matter than what interests me. But I'll say this though, which is interesting. When I was in law school, I have a dear friend who's a sister, and she's a conscientious sister and spiritual, and she named her dog Sean Carter, and so that tells you like what her mindset is, and Jay-Z was one of her favorites, and so like she was very emphatic about that. I'm like, wait, hold up, how is she gonna be like this way, but then like celebrate Jay-Z so much? So all that being said, that has enough of an influence on me so that by the time of my third year in law school, as I'm like rebuilding my CD collection, or whatever, after it got stolen out my car, I'm like, yo, I'll get a Jay-Z album because my friend thinks so much of him. So I got an album. It was probably the most recent one that he had at that moment. He had a number of popular tracks on that joint, and so I recognize the songs, and then it's catchy. And again, the production, the lyricism, the intelligence, the swagger, I appreciate all that. But like I said, I have different interests along those lines. Now that being said, I remember seeing something a few years ago. After he like blows up even further. It's after he marries Beyonce, and it's a little bit into that kind of like gossipy type thing or whatever. So I don't delve into that type of conversation, and I don't like getting into people's personal business when it's not my business to do so. So my point for sharing this is actually a positive thing, but it happens in a little bit of a difficult situation. So anyways, long story short, there was one of those like videos or whatever where he's in the elevator with Beyonce and her sister Solange, and Solange just starts just like beating up on him, whatever that was going on, I don't know. So again, people get gossipy and we know how things are going. But this is what I have to say about it. What I was impressed was his demeanor in that episode. And what I saw was him just like standing there, like defending himself, like blocking, but he didn't retaliate. And which he could have done or whatever else, and not obviously would have been wrong, but I just remember him like staying cool and collected in terms of how he was handling it. And so obviously the sister beating up on him was irate and outside her mind or whatever, but he stays cool. And so I appreciate his demeanor and his discipline and how he responds to that situation. And so I think it speaks to his discipline and principles, and also probably his maturity that he is able to experience up to that stage in his life. So that's a positive that I saw. Now, again, I respect what he's able to do, and the intelligence, the lyricism, the business acumen to be able to flip his hip hop career into being part owner of what was it first? The Nets, but now it's the Brooklyn Nets. It was the New Jersey Nets back when he started owning it. So now he's representing Brooklyn by being on the MT. He probably has a larger stake in the team than he originally did, but I appreciate that, and I know he's doing other things as well. He's working with the NFL and additionally, so I appreciate that. What would be nice to see is him being able to flip that billionaire status into having a block and like building a village, like buying a block and like setting up a village and like building community, like literally, because you can do that with $1 billion. You can do that here with $500 million. You don't even have to have $1 million to do that. But I think that's like the next level of community building and like the next echelon of like making it, or however we classify that. And his trajectory is such that, and him, Drake, and others as well who've stacked chips in the game can have the resources, have the capability of getting a block and starting a block and being the mayor of their own block, and additionally literally being the mayor, have it be a city, like Highland Hills or something like that, or Bracknell, and be like, yo, this is my crib, this is my hood, what's up? And I think how bosses that is. So it's not just like having some hideaway mansion out in some place else that everybody else doesn't know about, but it's like, no, this is my hood, this is what's up, and living like that. I think that's like where the game can go next to evolve and set the bar for what is considered success. And it's not a matter of leaving the hood, but it's like changing the hood and building accordingly. So, anyways, that's a thought. But okay, Jay-Z. All right, Now I'm gonna look. I'm gonna like notice some absences. So like I said, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, the other cat, out of Chi-Town.
Kanye?
Yeah, Kanye West. All those not on the list. And I mean,
they're all honorable mentions.
Okay, honorable mentions. Yeah, that's I see now. I have to work on the strategy. First of all, we've been at this for almost 2 hours now. Again, so I have to work on my discipline of like how long we do these things because I think it's a decent conversation. But I'm thinking about like people listening to this be like, "Yo, how much longer is going on or whatever." So, and I know it's a little bit late in the day. So, but in this format of like the list of 5, I think one thing that some people do in counting down the list is between 2 and 1, that being a space for sharing the honorable mentions for anybody who didn't make that cut. So all those cats are on your honorable mention, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else you want to include on your honorable mention?
Oh man, there's so many newer artists and older artists. It's gonna take a lot of time to go through it.
Maybe that'll be another joint.
Yeah, I might have to do an honorable mentions.
Yeah, top 5 honorable mentions. All right. So I'll share my number 1. Haha. Now this is gonna be interesting. I don't know. I might have mentioned this group to you before. I probably have. I don't know. And if I didn't, I wonder whether you would know about this group anyways. So this is one that's not very well known. But it's the Coup. Have you heard of the Coup before?
No, I haven't.
Aha. It's coming out of the Bay Area. And the Coup has what I call the best hip hop album. And again, that's a whole argument right there. But the reason why I say that is because in that album, I think it's their debut album back 30 years ago. Wow, almost 30 years ago.
What's it
back
called?
93. So now the title of it is very provocative, and I don't agree with violence. So that's right off the rip. And also utilize the name of God in an inappropriate way. But to be simple, I'll just say what the name is. It's Kill My Landlord. So I know, I hear you. So, but now that being said, the group comes out again about 30 years ago. 93, I think, is when the album was released. So this is before like gangsta music was like took hold. I mean, NWA was still around during that. It had already been established, but like it had yet to become like a mainstream kind of thing. And so this was right at the end of the golden era of hip hop with like KRS-One and BDP and Public Enemy and stuff like that. And so that's kind of like the vibe that Coup is on, like the political tip. But they're coming out of the Bay Area, which you might know is like very political and like conscientious, activist driven and everything. Tupac coming from the Bay Area as well. Him before being from B-More. So anyways, that's where Coup comes from. The Bay Area representing Oakland, the land of the Oleon, and share this message of upliftment, community upliftment. They at the very the first lyrics, like the first lines of the first track is "Presto, read the Communist Manifesto," and so right there they're letting you know like what type of mentality they're coming with, but also like have intelligence, like know about current events, know about politics, and additionally, and how it relates to the hood, and how to utilize it to benefit the hood. And they were part of this syndicate called the Mau Mau, which was like this hip hop underground collective in the Bay Area. And so they're just like representing the Oak City, Oaktown, Oakland hardcore. So anyways, that's the gist of it. Now the album delves on a number of different topics, like stop smoking weed. And people are like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" But like, weed is making us like numbing our intellect and everything. So they're like, "Stop smoking weed." They're like, "Stop calling each other the N word." They're like, "We got to get our economics together and like be cooperative. We got to find a way of like solving our beefs without getting at each other." So they're like hitting on all these issues in the community that nobody else was hitting, particularly 30 years ago, and doing it in like a very like righteous kind of swagger, demeanor, delivery, and so that's what they're talking about. It was a duo, and the MC, the DJ was a sister, Pam, the Funktress, I think was her DJ name, and so the two brothers are called Boots Riley and E-Rock. So it's a classic album. It's probably extremely undersung, under celebrated, under recognized. But particularly for that reason, I share that as my number one. Continuing the legacy of, like I said, Public Enemy, and the politically conscious brethren of the East Coast. The go-to track on this one would be the second track on the album, which is called "Not Yet Free." And I'll give you a fun fact about the Coup. In that album, it came out again 30 years ago. In that album, the Coup basically denounces every single presidential administration in the past 40 or 50 years to today. So one might ask, how can a hip hop group 30 years ago denounce like the public? Oh, with one exception. How could a hip hop group from 30 years ago denounce like the past 30 years of presidential administrations to today's administration, so-called thereabouts? First of all, it gives you an idea of how little change there's been in the past 30 years. That the same names are that were relevant 30 years ago are still relevant today, with one exception. And it also gives a certain amount of insight into the geopolitical relevance, like of what the Coup knew what it was talking about, and who to identify as like challenges within the experience that's had in the hood. So that one exception you might imagine is Obama, and it's actually interesting to note that during the administration, or during the time of that administration terms, the group continues on. One group member quits the group to kind of get a 9 to 5 to support the family. Another member, the DJ, I'm informed that she passes away. So it's Boots Riley who's like the lead. He's still doing it, but he does it with like additional MCs that take on the additional roles. But it's during Obama's administration that Boots Riley is given a film deal. He writes a script, a screenplay for a film that actually gets completed and distributed through mainstream channels, and it's called Sorry to Bother You. Have you heard of that film before?
Yeah, I heard of it.
So
yeah.
he's the one who wrote that film, so that's one of the fun facts about the Coup.
Right.
So yeah,
Good. It's good to see people expanding, diversifying with their skills.
jumping on a number of platforms and parlaying that into positivity, productivity. So, but we got additional work to do, so it continues. So we've been at this for nearly 2 hours at this point, and I'm going to ask you the one to grow on. Hip hop has been around for about 40 years, 50 years. 40 a 50 years. I try to flex my Espanol as much as I can. So that's about 2 or 3, 4 generations of people in the community continuing the hip hop legacy. We've covered a number of generations from 80s and 90s through today. So the question then is, what is your message for the next generations of hip hop? For 7 generations from today, what is it? What would you like to see within the 7th generation from today? Continuing on and continuing the legacy of hip hop. What are the issues? What do you want to be like the experience? What do you want hip hop to talk about? Additionally,
I mean, I just want people to know their own way.
Okay.
I mean, life is grand. Life is really enjoyable, and it could be shared. So let's try to find a way to motivate and keep it alive.
Cool. Anything else?
That's all I gotta say.
Beautiful. That's enough said right there. So with that, we call this joint a wrap. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Cool, bro. Appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right. So, actually, that I appreciate that conversation. It's long, and I was a little bit challenged by that the prospect of listening to it again, spending 2 hours of my day doing that because at the moment, to be honest, actually it's Soleil Day and it's after the time for posting the weekly podcast, so already it's delayed, and like I said, other things going on through the day, and also ain't got no phone, ain't got no Wi-Fi. That complicates matters. Additionally, ain't got no excuses, but that's the situation. So the prospect of listening for 2 hours to a podcast amidst all these conditions, I was just like, wow. Now that being said, I enjoyed this conversation. I think it's beneficial. That intergenerational thing, and it was a genuine, like, complimentary kind of listing, because Brother Xavier shares where he's coming from. I share where I'm coming from. We share the explanation of why, what the experience is, and additionally, so I think that's actually helpful. I think it's insightful. Obviously, there's so much additionally that can be said and that should be said, but it gives some foundation for additional building and additionally. So, anyways, there's that. I think also this is out of the first renderings. Up to this point, that's probably the conversation that utilized that format the best in terms of like the flow of it, because it seems as though Brother Xavier knows about it, is familiar with that notion of like a top 5 list, because I think it's something that is further familiar with younger brethren compared to some of the convos I've had with elders who, when trying to stick with the list, with me trying to stick to the list, the elders are just kind of like talking on what we're talking about and want to like let the convo go in that direction. So I was in previous occasions being increasingly like a little bit forced perhaps to kind of stick to the script. In this one we were like, yeah, that's what we're doing. All right, let's go on to the next. So anyways, that being said, I'm actually letting go of that formality at the moment. Now I may come back on other iterations, particularly when people have that type of proclivity, but it's being flexible. Now that being said, this is also the most, that conversation was about maybe a month or two, probably a couple months ago, before all the situation and everything, and that's pretty much what we have in terms of the recent combos in the past couple months, because like I said, I ain't got no phone. So that makes making arranging combos and additionally further difficult. People ain't visiting like before, so that's where the situation is. Now that being said, one thing that I considered beforehand, like even before all this comes about, is having the prospect of sharing some archive combos from previous years on a number of talks that I had with brethren on different projects. So that's what I'm thinking about doing at this point. Actually, that's what I'm planning to do at this point. And actually, with a newsletter, there we go with the newsletter. We are cultivating a structure in communication and in the content that is shared, and being increasingly organized and presentable. And additionally, so up to this point, I've given very, very little effort in terms of like putting presentation together and everything. But actually, before I get into that, continue on with the convo with Brother Xavier. I appreciate the different perspectives and the shared perspective that we articulate in the convo. I focus on community when he talks about the appeal of his top artist resonating with the community. I appreciate that. I also appreciate what I share in terms of like raising the level of the game to and the narrative of the success story towards being one of like running a village, literally like building a village in the hood, and so I think that's necessary. It's way past due. That's something to be doing like half a century ago, but particularly these days. when cats are flexing additionally. And it's not a judgment call or a condemnation. It's just like, this is what needs to be done. This is what we should be doing. So I appreciate me saying that. Oh, look at me. So anyways, those are probably things, and it's beneficial to get the insight from others who have different interests, who have different affinities, and additionally, and to talk about that, because that's the nature of community, that's the nature of village, having common foundation, common bond, but also being different and having different interests. And we ain't gotta agree about everything. We ain't gotta like co-sign on everything. And that's actually what makes us stronger, when we can be different and still respect each other and still cooperate and build with each other and have a shared foundation of culture, heritage, priorities, and additionally. And actually, that's the thing when we talk about the one to grow on in this episode, and brother Xavier communicates the word of encouragement for the next generation. That's what I was thinking of at that point, was that notion of shared culture. And in culture, it's a matter of recognizing that it's not just a matter of like just music for music's sake. It's a matter of like community and tradition, heritage, ancestry, principles, righteousness. All that's part of it. And so Confucius narrows this down to simple things: songs, stories, rituals, and then also ethics. So that's what I emphasize as one to grow on continually, like in every convo, but in this convo as well. When we talk about hip hop being an art form, a medium, a prophetic voice, even that comes from an experience of oppression and affliction, and angst, exclusion, and utilizes what's available to articulate truth. So that's like the epitome, in my estimation, of hip hop at its best. Now that is adulterated, it is corrupted, it is manipulated, and additionally cut up and cut down into a mass marketable kind of product, laced with all types of whatever else. So that's other than what a purist kind of rendering of hip hop is. So, but it's part of it, because that's the nature of Earth and additionally. So, anyways, all that being said, one to grow on is our old songs, our traditional songs, and continuing that legacy, our traditional stories, healthy, like meaningful stories that bring the generations together, that the elders are able to appreciate with the youngsters, and the adults are able to appreciate and talk about it and build. And I wouldn't do that. I'd do that. Yeah. Having an escape, a refuge, a shared escape, a shared refuge, shared frames of reference, shared like inside jokes. That's what culture is. And so that's what we need. That's what we've been needed. That's what everybody needs. So that's what we need to be doing. And again, ethics is part of that. Being righteous, because that's what sustains. That's how we like. That's the continuity. So, anyways, that's what I got to share on that joint. And so, going back to saying about the newsletter and this and the other, like the business point of this, like in terms of passing the hat on this joint, like we've gotten to a different kind of like approach at this point. So this is what we're working with at this moment, given conditions, given progression, and everything else. We are establishing. We've been working on a newsletter for a while. It's been kind of on hiatus a little bit, but now we're going back with it. And so it's on a monthly basis, every new moon, God willing. On the new moon, we provide a newsletter, and that's for anybody who wants to receive it and be put in the email list. And in terms of the presentability and the organization, we're actually utilizing a listserv and a email service it's one of the free joins or whatever, but a service that does that, so people can unsubscribe it when people want. People can subscribe, and instead of me just like each communique like coming up with a new list or whatever of people to send it to, this is increasingly organized and accountable or attentive to responsiveness, and additionally and not sending things to people who don't want to receive it. So there's a little benefit in doing that. So anyways, that's one of the things we're doing with the newsletter. Again, the new moons is when we're getting that, and the next new moon is scheduled for this upcoming week. So I'm preparing that. Now the newsletter itself is very basic, just kind of sharing basic information, including like an economy report from the past month of membership commitments and contributions and tithes and barters and exchanges, and additionally and all right, so the newsletter also includes upcoming observances for the upcoming month during the new moon period, as well as a summary of the full moon community call. So we started actually this past week, a week and a half ago, starting doing monthly community calls. So during the new moon we have the newsletter, the written newsletter, and then on the full moon we have a community call. And so we did that, and there were 2 people who would participate this past occasion. So the new moon newsletter has the summary of the full moon call, and then also the schedule for the upcoming full moon call in the preceding 2 weeks from when the newsletter comes out, thereabouts. And that's pretty much what the newsletter is scheduled to have. I mean, there might be a couple of just things like a lighthearted joint, literally lighthearted, and there's some things else that escapes me at the moment, but that's just membership. So in terms of how we are arranging contributions, donations, support, whatever else, amidst all the protocols that are historically established, this is where we're going with at this point. We invite people to provide a commitment for 1 month of being a member, and so the membership provides the member with a monthly publication. So when the newsletter comes out, there's also a monthly publication that comes out. The monthly publication is only shared directly, officially with members. So anybody can have a newsletter, anybody can participate on the full moon calls, but the monthly publication, it's on a different topic every month, but the monthly publication is for people who are members. Membership is simple: 1% of one's monthly income. So whatever income the person made, or the family made, or the organization made in the past month, 1% of that gross. And it's on people's honor system, so we ain't checking W-2 forms or whatever else, but that's the principle. And so that way, like cats who make a lot, then they provide a lot. Cats ain't making that much, all right, that's fine. It's only 1%. So if a cat makes $100 in a month, that ain't too much. But guess what? $1 from that ain't too much either. And if a cat's making $1 million in a month, 1% of that is 10,000, 10 G's. And be like, that's a lot. Well, guess what? $1 million is a lot. So anyways, it's applicable across the board. That's the fairest thing we can identify at the moment. And it's similar to the principle of tithing. We abstain from like proclaiming this as people's official religiosity or whatever, but we're based upon those types of principles. So this is how we are rolling. And that's the situation. And where before we very, very vehemently and very humbly and respectfully and thankfully refuse receiving money, we are able to do that at this point, and with the notion that this is other than money per se. Like that's not what necessarily what we're accepting. We're accepting 1% of people's income. So if this was 1,000 years ago, it would be gold, or it would be silver, or whatever else. So it's 1%. 1% is 1%, regardless of what the denomination is, what the currency is, or whatever else. So based upon that recognition, we are able to receive money accordingly. So we still have some mechanics to set up for that process, but that's what we're doing, and we see how that rolls. And it's through that there's the intention of phone service being restored to me in terms of mobile, and additionally, even maybe setting up Wi-Fi, and maybe even getting some food, and maybe some footwear that doesn't have big holes in it. Anyway, so that's where we are at this point. I think anything else? Oh, the monthly publications. I mentioned again, different topic. The one coming up this month is lockdown, locked up, lifting. So basically, it's like a manual of prayers, meditation for people who are in the situation of being locked down or locked up. Two very different things. Very very distinct socioeconomic experiences happening with each of those. But I experienced both those situations in the past year. Thereabouts. So it's a matter of knowing like what cats are going through, trying to like keep one's head steady and keep others outside their head, and how to do that. Like when one is locked up, can't go anywhere, can't escape, can't find a quiet place or whatever. How do you keep cats at your head? How do you stay focused and like do some healing and whatever else? So this is a manual for that, based upon the experience of Earth spirituality. It has a collection of prayers, meditation, exercises, instructions on yoga and salat, and additionally for whoever is whoever is game for receiving that. And again, I'm speaking from personal experience. Like, it's helpful to have some kind of like tool, a manual or whatever, to help guide one's like mindfulness and calmness within a locked up situation and a lockdown situation. So that's where the lifting comes in, and that's what the manual is. So that's the monthly publication coming up for this new moon. To be honest, I still have some writing to do for that, but it's pretty much like over 80% completed. So that's where we're at with that. And then the newsletter is intended to have like a description, a brief abstract about the monthly publication, as I think also it's supposed to have it has, I think, an announcement about what the next publication is for the next month, so people can plan accordingly if they have a keener interest in the topic for the next month in terms of publication. The newsletter also has the monthly schedule of the podcast. So there's the intention of posting the next 4 weeks of what the schedule is for this podcast, and so that's something that's established for the next month. At this moment, I'm happy to share it on this platform, but that's what the newsletter is intended to include, and so I work on that too. That's much of it. I mean, our projects still continue. We're working on establishing world citizenship villages and the World Citizen Village Initiative. We're working with World Service Authority on a cooperative endeavor, a joint venture, and so there's some resonance with that. That includes also working with our network, and that includes universities in terms of encouraging brethren, colleagues in getting involved with multiculturalism and mixed heritage and world citizenship. And we actually offer that trifecta as a progressing sequence of pluralism. So multiculturalism signifying an interest in people from different lands, mixed heritage signifying an experience from people of different lands, and then world citizenship signifying a commitment towards the many people of different lands, the people of many different lands. So that's like the sequence of like the hierarchy. Yeah, it's not a hierarchy, but like this is a sequence of the progressive sequence of pluralism, and we invite cats who are at each and any of those stages of pluralism to get involved in these groups and talk about what that is, And for those who are increasingly inclined towards organizing and administrating like cooperative efforts, economic co-ops, and additionally, based upon those notions, because guess what? World citizenship also involves ethics, shared ethics, a global ethos, a wealth ethos. And so that includes fair economics and village-to-village exchange. And we share the adage of we want to know who provides us food. Like we want to know who those cats are, like that they're okay. And that's like a legit thing. That's like a healthy thing for people to want to do and want to have. And so it's a matter of working with local governments to support that, to support local co-ops and village-to-village exchanges. And so those are things we continue to work on. And the village, the World Citizen Village Initiative is the way in which we're doing it and emphasizing it at this moment. We still got some convos and calls to complete in the forthcoming weeks, but we're getting some responsiveness, and that's encouraging. But that's momentum, and that's additional responsibility, and we got to attend to that. In addition to like answering the needs of the day as well. So there's things going on in addition to like the studies and everything else with Tawari Goka Dao, Torah Bhagavad Gita, Diganakaya Dhammapada, Gospels, Quran, Tao Te Ching. So that's what's happening at this point. Hey, I continue to work on being married. So that's a huge thing right there. And it's it's work. Anyways, that's a whole nother story. But it continues. And people's advice is solicited. Like, people are welcome to share their opinion and recommendation and solicitation for me being quiet about it or whatever else. But yeah, that continues. And such is life. There's a lot of sounds on this recording. I noticed that. This table squeaks. This was one of the few that was actually recorded indoors, in person. And so initially, I think the sound quality was a little bit challenging because the device I was recording on cut off during the middle of the thing. I think that can be heard in this recording of it. And so Brother Xavier was recording his own version of it, and so that's the one we're utilizing. But at the beginning I was away from the mic, so that was a little bit garbled. But then the table squeaks, and there was typing. I don't know if that was me. I'm trying to remember. There's actually, I think, a video recording of this, if I recall correctly. And yeah, maybe it might have been me, but anyways, that's what some of the noises are during that thing. And to be honest, actually, I recorded a poem at the beginning before I do this, because that's my approach when I do these podcasts. But at this point, I'm intending to do a different poem, so we'll see what that poem is, because if you've listened to this, you probably already heard it before I have. That's trippy Inception. So yeah, that's much of it. Yeah, I think we'll keep it at that. So, all that being said, the newsletter, people can hit me up if they want to do that. I'm still working on the mechanics of that to get that out, but I say that particularly with the consideration of the newsletter having the next 4 sessions scheduled for the next month. So that might be something of interest for people who listen to the podcast. All 67 officially, at last tally. So that may not seem like very much, but guess what? That's way much further than after a decade of being on YouTube for myself. So hey, we're moving on up. Anyways, that's not my song, but here we go. That said, yo, it's late and I'm going. One love. Namaste. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Beer, Zaijian, adios, te chakaris, SMP naasa mudwo, Kelek ofred. One love and peace. Happiness and liberation.